These were huge bets that Lehman would fail, and it made it virtually impossible for Lehman to borrow money. Lehman couldn't sell stock and they couldn't borrow money. Their lifeblood was literally cut off, and it gave the entire financial system a massive heart attack. That's what actually happened. Now here's the interesting part. We trace the bear raids back to their point of origin. A huge amount of this activity started in Middle East and went through London. Two sovereign wealth funds in the Middle East, one of which was advised by a key Muslim Brotherhood figure, were implicated in naked short selling and bear raids over what they described as a Jewish investment bank, namely Lehman Brothers. They operated through a London bank, which interestingly enough was a party in creating a means for Islamic finance to short sell without borrowing shares or paying lending fees. And the same London bank was implicated later for illegal manipulations on behalf of these same sovereign wealth funds. What happened was the bank loaned these wealth funds the money that they then used to buy shares in the bank. That was a scheme that defrauded the UK people, the shareholders of the bank, and the government. You can't make this stuff up. And by the way, they also may have been connected to the manipulation of oil prices that I mentioned earlier. This was a massive bear raid. The details are much deeper and much more intricate than I can describe here, but it's extremely well documented both in my Pentagon report and a Blaze TV documentary and my New York Times best-selling book, Secret Weapon: How Economic Terrorism Brought Down the U.S. Stock Market and Why It Can Happen Again. If you'll go to economicwarroom.com/secret weapon, you'll learn how you can get access to all three: the book, the documentary, and my original Pentagon report. When you learn the truth, it will blow you away. You should also know that my report was covered up because it didn't fit the deep state narrative. When I wrote the report, I had no idea how much trouble it would cause me personally simply because I was telling the truth. What I didn't know at the time was how afraid the Obama administration was that it might come out that foreign powers may have interfered in our election. That was their top worry. On one day, I was asked if I'd move to Washington and head up a multi-million-dollar new focus on economic warfare for the Pentagon. This was brand new thinking for them, and they wanted to be ahead of the curve. But the very next day, I got a call that essentially said that my research was going to be classified. I asked what that meant, and they told me that they would put me in jail if I ever talked about it again. Are you kidding me? Why? Because it did not fit the narrative. That's what they told me. The deal was that all of that work was open source. It wasn't secret. It wasn't classified in any way. I was looking at financial statements and stock market trades, but they said my analysis would be classified and be locked away forever. I argued with them and was told I might be sent to jail or worse. They said sometimes people who cross the narrative simply disappear. You don't know who you're dealing with. That was a little concerning. So I turned to a colleague, Marine Major Patrick Malloy, who stepped in and connected me with former CIA Director Jim Woolsey. Now, Jim Woolsey's been a guest on our program talking about the risks of EMP. Woolsey at that time was my hero. He in turn sent copies of my report to 3 sitting senators: John McCain, the presidential candidate, Joe Lieberman, a former Democrat vice presidential candidate, and John Kyle, a senator from Arizona. Then he warned the Pentagon that if I was threatened again, my report would be read aloud on the Senate floor. Almost immediately, I got a call back that said, "Oh, Mr. Freeman, we want to apologize. You must have misunderstood us. We weren't threatening you. We were only trying to protect you." With friends like that, who needs enemies? It was at that point that I knew the intelligence community was politicized. They were willing to manipulate information for the deep state agenda.